If you haven't noticed, with the order of our countdown to kickoff series, we are starting with the lowest win totals and working our way up. Okay. And we've gone through 4 teams, and 3 of them are rookie quarterbacks, and 1 is
Mhm.
a second-year quarterback in Bryce Young. So the rookie concern is real. There's a reason that they have most of them outside of Caleb Williams. They have the lowest win totals. Vikings too. They're somewhere closer to the middle. But a lot of this has been all about the young quarterbacks. And there is that
Mhm.
reason. There's that reason. Yes, they all want to be CJ Stroud. The Bears are praying that they have the CJ Stroud effect, that you see that sort of a bump. But there's a reason they're all the way down here. What I would say uh, in response to Jayden Daniels, and yes, the concerns are fair. Did you watch Sam Howell? Did you watch Sam Howell? Because I'm old enough to remember last offseason when these Commander clowns were pumping up Sam Howell that he's real. Oh, he could be real. Oh, yeah, he's real. Real bad. Real bad for 21 interceptions. Real bad for, and it was the offensive line too, but also him taking 65 sacks last year. You're going to see an upgrade. Maybe not in some of the stats, but 21 interceptions, 65 sacks. I know rookie quarterbacks, especially early on, turnovers are a problem. I'm expecting better than that from Jayden Daniels. I am. So I'm not as concerned about that part. My big question for this team winning more games than the 4 last year and cracking that win total, which they very well could do. See, because I look at it and I don't think it's as tough. Like we were talking about Denver yesterday. They have some tough patches throughout that schedule, beginning,
Yeah.
middle, and end. And I don't really see it as much here. Like, yes, facing Cleveland, Baltimore back-to-back weeks is not fun. But before that, it's Arizona. After that, it's Carolina. Like, it's not
Yeah.
awful.
They
And,
don't
you
they
look
only
at
have one
facing
set of
Dallas.
back-to-back road games. I mean, that's
Yeah.
one thing that jumps out, and the second one, as you pointed out, is in Arizona. The Carolina, Chicago Giants stretch in the middle of the season.
NFC South, you
Um,
get the weakest division in the NFL. So
yeah.
I don't think it's that bad. I think Dallas is going to be taking a step back this year. But
So
I
here's
see, I know all the focus is going to be on Jayden Daniels, and it should be number 2 pick
yeah.
overall. And, do they have their franchise quarterback? I get all that. But it's about the defense, man. And I
Yeah.
and I know that's not what this NFL is, but remember, scoring was way down. And this with scoring down last year, this pathetic group was giving up 30 points per game. 30 points
Yeah.
per game just with the presence of Dan Quinn and some of the slight changes they brought in. They brought in a lot of veterans. They bring in Bobby Wagner. Um,
Yep.
you know, on a one-year deal, maybe Cleveland Farrell, maybe you get something out of that guy and he's motivated. You get something. He was the 4th pick overall. Yeah, probably a dumb pick, but maybe Quinn is able to put him in a position to succeed. Maybe he's able to put a number of these players in a position to succeed. I have a hard time buying the idea that, you know what, for the most part, same talent, it's going to be the same result where they're giving up 30 points per game, which, by the way, 10 more than the previous season. They went from 20 points allowed to 30 points allowed per game. To Linnell's point, maybe the coaching change really hurt them with Chris Harris gone. Well, maybe this coaching change is really going to help them with Dan Quinn there. They were dead last in EPA per play. They were dead last in EPA per dropback on defense. The secondary was brutal start to finish.
So here's the thing. I can understand everything you're saying about why this team should be at least incrementally better than last year, right? Like Jayden Daniels is not Sam Howell. They did go out and try to, like I said earlier with Linnell, patchwork an offensive line together. Cosme has gotten better, even if his first couple of years in the league were really difficult. And he was sort of dragged down by everybody around him. They do have the skill position guys. The defense, like you said, they go out and they get some established veteran free agents who might be able to help, like a Bobby Wagner, a Jeremy Chin. They draft Sandra Still. Newton, another big draft pick on the defensive side of the ball. They've got big play potential, I think, at a couple spots. Linnell brought up the pass rush, and Dan Quinn has been good at dialing that up in multiple stops throughout his career. My question then is all of that enough to be more than incrementally better over last year when they were a 4-win team? And I think they could be incrementally better. Like, this could be, I think, all things considered, everything goes well, a 6-11 team, right? There's 6 wins out there for them. I think it's asking too much to ask with a new head coach, new OC, brand new rookie quarterback, to ask all of that to increase your win total by 3 wins. And that's where they're at, really. It's slightly juiced to the over on 6.5 wins. Is 3 wins better? And I don't see that. They look solidly like a 6-win team to me if everything goes as expected. Now, the bet that I do kind of like when we talk about the team as a whole and the division they're in, like,
Mhm.
I think the Giants may be a disaster this year. And so you can get Washington to finish third in the division at plus 160. That's not a terrible bet. That's one that I could see the Giants stumble their way to 4 wins and are just, like I said, an abject disaster. Washington incrementally improves over last year because of all of those pieces we mentioned and is a 6-win team that finishes third in the division. Like, that's something that makes sense to me when I'm looking at Commanders' futures for the 24 season.
Yeah. You see, I can see them getting that bump in wins. I can because
Okay.
well, one thing we've seen it so many times with a brand new head coach, new culture,
Mm-hmm.
year 2 for the new ownership, general manager and all that, and I think it's only going to be positive. They did close the season with an 8-game losing streak. And it's not like they weren't able to score a little bit, even though they were hampered with Sam Howell. So I'm willing to buy into Kingsbury a little bit. Usually with Kingsbury, it's kind of short lived. It's not going to last that long, but for the short term, it's probably going to be pretty good. I'm not sitting here screaming, play the over. There are some interesting props that we're going to get to coming up, but what you said about the Giants, that's noteworthy. That the odds makers are saying 4-13, yeah. Rookie quarterback, uh-huh. But guess what? The worst team in that division is the Giants, not the Commanders. That kind of got my attention. That they're
Yeah.
slotting them as the 4th favorite, as the long shot, not the Commanders. The Commanders 9-1, 10-1 range. Can we see a slide back from the Eagles? Possibly, but I really like their offseason. The Cowboys, I do think so. They seem to be thin all of a sudden. A team that was deep for a long, long time, they seem to be thin at certain spots where, man, a couple of key injuries and the whole thing can fall apart.
In DC, what do you think it looks like for Jayden Daniels right out of the gate? How has he handled things to this point in mini camps and OTAs? And when do we see him officially get under center as the starter for the Commanders?
Well, good morning, guys. Appreciate you all having me on. I'm going to preface what I'm about to say by saying this. It's mandatory minicamp, it's OTAs, we're in helmets, shorts, jerseys, so it's really not a whole lot you can take away from an X's and O's standpoint. But every time I'm asked about Jayden Daniels, I say the same thing. He has passed all of the offseason tests to this point with 110% flying colors. He is a kid that you knew coming out of LSU, the background of him getting into virtual reality last year, and really doing whatever it takes to have a full understanding and mastery of Brian Kelly's offense. He's taking that same approach here in Washington. He took the podium last week, in the clip and soundbite that's gone viral is he's getting to the practice facility, gentlemen, at 5:45 a.m. every morning to install and go over the last day's install. And simply just put in the necessary work that it's going to take for him to be prepared to be that week 1 starter. If we're answering that question in particular, I think right now he is a shoo-in to be the week 1 starter. He has looked better than Marcus Mariota, who is the backup right now for Washington. He's looked better throughout the duration of the offseason. But like I said, it's going to be a little bit of a difference when Washington puts the pads on and you get a little bit more physicality and things get ratcheted up a little bit. The big area in which I'm looking for him to really shine and prove that he is going to be the week 1 starter is when Washington joint practices against the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins in week 1 and week 2 of the preseason. You guys know how prolific both of those defenses have the potential to be. So a real fine opportunity for Jayden to prove that he's ready to be a starter at the National Football League level.
Cliff, such a key hire. Going to have to hand him the keys. Like, it's your offense. Go get it. Develop this quarterback. There's a lot on Cliff Kingsbury. What did you think of that hire overall, and what should we expect?
So initially, you obviously got to be excited just because of the track record that he has working with young quarterbacks across the National Football League. As you mentioned, Kyler Murray. He's worked with Baker Mayfield. He's worked with Patrick Mahomes. He's worked with Caleb Williams, who's now under center in Chicago. But, on first blush, I was excited about it just because of the creativity that we know he can bring to an offense, and especially with today's modern NFL, I think he is a perfect fit as an offensive coordinator. He may have been a little bit over his skis as the head coach in Arizona, having to manage the entire operation. I have a lot more optimism about what he could be here in Washington simply because of the fact that he's just going to be calling plays.
Caleb Williams, I think, has the better offense built around him. Not to take anything away from Terry McLaurin or Jahan Dotson. I just don't think they're quite on the same level as the weapons available to Caleb Williams. I still, like I said, the Commanders as, at best, a 6-win team if everything goes right for them and they incrementally improve across the board in multiple areas. So I can't see him hitting on Offensive Rookie of the Year, and it's 6-1. I don't think it's the kind of number that I would be in on, Joe.
I could see it hitting. I could see it. It's not the likely scenario. I mean, he's the second favorite, sitting there at 6-1. Obviously, Caleb Williams way ahead of everyone else there. But okay, when you have this many quarterbacks taken this early, you would think one of them's going to win. Like, we could make a case for Harrison Jr. I guess because New York bump, you can make a case for Neighbors. I'm not going to make that case for Neighbors. And then you have quarterbacks that are not going to start from day one, which I would put in that bucket, like Lee McCarthy and Penix, of course. It's probably going to be 3 guys starting. That's where I'm at. Just, okay, which bet do you want to make? If you're making an Offensive Rookie of the Year play, which quarterback starting week 1 do you want to roll with as far as most likely winner? If you want to take long shots, okay, fine. I'll hear you out. But the start of the conversation is Caleb, Daniels, and Bo Nix. But does Nix have enough weapons to where he can put up the numbers that Caleb and Daniels will be able to? And Daniels will also be using his legs some too. I found this to be very interesting in the prop market. So the Jayden Daniels number for passing yards is 3150 in the hook. And I because of Kingsbury, I found myself comparing the numbers with Kyler Murray and what he did in his rookie campaign when he ended up playing the full season. 16 games though then. He had 37-22 in his rookie year. And then you have Daniels' number here at 3150. The rushing yards for Daniels is 500 in the hook. Kyler had 544. Interesting. Let me throw this one at you too. Shop around, folks. I go to BetMGM. I see 19.5 passing touchdowns for Jayden Daniels. I go to another sports book. I see 16.5. Wow. What? That is one of those situations where if you want to play the over 16.5, the under 19.5 could be. Kyler's rookie year, he had 20.